Hello and welcome to the final installment of Planoly Business School. My name is Cody Foster and I will be your host today. Today we have LinkedIn 601, the LinkedIn Growth Lab, and I have to say I have been so excited to speak to these panelists all month long. We have the most incredible lineup of speakers today and I think you're going to learn so much from them. Before we get into it, just a little bit of housekeeping. We will save some time at the end of the session for a Q&A. I strongly recommend if you have a question, getting it in as soon as possible. There's a little question box at the bottom of your screen where you should be able to submit your questions. And the Planoly team will be sort of rounding those up and organizing them while we are speaking throughout the panel. So the sooner you put in your question, the better chance you have of answering it. And then any questions that we don't get to during the session, Planoly will answer on their Instagram in a Q&A after the session. So be sure to check that out as well. But without further ado, we will go ahead and get started with a little bit of an introduction to Planoly for those of you who aren't familiar. Planoly was founded in 2016 as the first visual Instagram grid planner. Obviously, social media has evolved a lot in the last decade, and so has Planoly. So it is now a powerful multi-platform scheduling tool where you can plan and schedule content for TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Threads, basically anything you can think of, they can probably do it. And also expanded to Creator Store last year. So Planoly now has a link in bio storefront tool. So this is where you can host all of your links. So think your website, your services, your Amazon storefront, all of that sort of stuff. But you can also sell digital products. So things like ebooks, online courses, anything like that, you can host that directly in your link in bio. We will be sending out an email tomorrow with the recording as well as a 30% off code to try Planoly. And you also get a free 2-week trial on top of that. So without further ado, I am going to introduce you to your speakers today. We have Rhianne Lee, Sophie Miller, and Jasmine King. And I am going to let them actually introduce themselves and give you a brief introduction to who they are, their career path, how they got to where they are today. So I will go ahead and kick things off with Jasmine.
Hi everyone, I'm Jasmine. But I've been freelancing through my agency Socially Hooked since being laid off from Twitter in 2022, where I was only there for 6 months as a social media coordinator. But yeah, after Elon acquired the company, he laid all of us off, and like ever since then, I like despised corporate America and was like, let me do my own thing. So I just started doing my own thing, and yeah, I've been like freelancing and partnering with like different agencies. Like I love being collaborative and like uplifting other people in this space. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and what I've been up to.
I love that so much. Thank you for sharing. I'll go over to you next, Rhianne.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Rhianne. I go by Rhi. I'm a personal branding strategist, so I help founders, creatives, and execs attract clients and opportunities and grow on social media. As you can see from title of webinar, I specialize in LinkedIn, so I help a lot of clients with LinkedIn, and I definitely spend too much time creating and consuming content on there. But to rewind a bit, I left a physics degree a few years ago and actually got into marketing through starting a small business selling candles inspired by books. That was about 5 years ago, and I did that for about a year and a half before I realized I liked marketing the business more than actually doing the business. And my mum actually pointed out, like, you're pretty good at Instagram. Like, why don't you just get into social media? So it was that Instagram page that helped me get my first job. And now I've been in marketing for over 4 years. I've done a digital marketing apprenticeship, and I've helped around 50 founders and companies with social media.
That is so amazing. I love that. I had no idea you had your own business. Awesome. And then last but certainly not least, we have Sophie.
Hi everyone, how exciting. I never tire of hearing people's career stories, and how amazing, Jasmine, for you that you turned something that probably really sucked at the time into something. Look at you here now, it's so cool. So I'm really excited and really honored to be here. My name, as you can see, is Sophie. 6 years ago this summer, I started an Instagram page as a blog called Pretty Little Marketer. And in 6 years, it has grown to 750,000 followers across 2 platforms. I have a baby team of 3, and I run one of the world's biggest communities for people in social media. Alongside that, and as part of that, I also work as a content creator. if my mum was here, she would tell you that I do what Molly May does. To any of you from the UK who will know exactly who, I don't know, has she made it to the States? I don't know, but that's what my mum would tell you I do. But I work as a creator in a more business, B2B sense. So I work with a lot of the world's biggest tech companies to share their events, their stories, tools that I think will be really valuable to our audience. So I am just here for the ride. LinkedIn has been a huge part of my journey. PLM and I have over 500,000 followers between the two accounts, and it's only been 6 years for me, but it has changed so much, and I think it will continue to do so, and the opportunity there only gets bigger. So if you are watching and you haven't yet jumped on the train, you're not late. I think there's still a lot more to come. So it's a really exciting time for the platform, and I mean, you've got amazing ladies right here that will tell you exactly the same. So thank you for having me, Cody. I'm excited to chat.
Yeah, me too. Thank you, Sophie. If you have not checked out the Pretty Little Marketer community, I cannot recommend it enough. You definitely should. Also love the comment about your mom. My dad for years told people that I worked at Instagram. And I was like, no, I post on Instagram for a living. I don't work at Instagram. Very big difference. But they're doing their best, right? Awesome. Okay, I want to talk. The whole reason we're here today is talk about LinkedIn. So I want to talk about when you first made the decision to start showing up on LinkedIn, because I think so many people only post on LinkedIn when they get a new job or when they're leaving a job, right? So at what point did you say, hey, I'm going to start like posting on this like I would on any other platform, like I would on Twitter, on Instagram, anything like that? So Rhianne, we'll go ahead and start with you this time.
So for me, it was actually because of my boss and clients. So at the time, I was working at a B2B marketing agency, and they'd largely built that agency off the back of LinkedIn, and they were helping B2B companies and founders with LinkedIn. So I was seeing like firsthand, day to day, constantly how powerful it was for so many people. And I had a boss at the time who was like super active on LinkedIn, which definitely normalized it for me. And it was very much encouraged and incentivized in that job, which definitely gave me the push to start. So it was definitely seeing opportunities that people were getting and just wanting to get better at content that pushed me to hit post. But I was definitely scared to start posting, but I'm so glad I did. It's been 2 years now since I started posting, and I never shut up about how powerful it
is. As you should, Queen. How about you, Sophie?
It's only been 2 years. It feels like I've been watching your journey forever. That makes me feel like a LinkedIn OAP. I've been posting on LinkedIn now for, I think it'll be 5 years as of January. So let's say 5.5 years. I started PLM, my business, in June 2020. I was a second year marketing student, and I had no prospects, no job, no hope. And I started an Instagram page in hope of doing two things. One, hopefully build up a little bit of voluntary self-experience for my CV, but also find other people like me. I was a pandemic student. I studied from home alone. I actually moved into my first apartment a week before the UK lockdowns began as well. So I was doing everything on my sofa, feeling afraid, no idea what was happening. PLM, we got 1,000 followers in a week, 2,000 in 2 weeks, and by December that year on Instagram we had 10,000 followers, and I was getting all these opportunities, but I still had no job. It made sense to me as a natural next step to start cross-posting on LinkedIn. So initially that looked like just repurposing our really bad and ugly, not how they are now, carousels to the PLM company page. And interesting because it was called Pretty Little Marketer. It was pink and red. It was cute as hell. And back then, I feel like LinkedIn really wasn't a platform that it is today. So PLM was going really well, but again, it was a faceless account. It wasn't a business. It wasn't monetized. I had no goals of forming it into that at the time either. So it got to a point where I was like, this is fun, but I kind of need to try and pay my bills, and graduation was looming. So then I started posting as Sophie, so posting on my personal account. And I actually tried to find the post today so I could screenshot it for an upcoming Substack. But I couldn't find it, but my first ever post on LinkedIn as Sophie, I reposted a Forbes article where they were talking about the rise of working from home because offices were shut. And if I could show it to you guys, I wish I could, but I reposted it with my own caption. And I put, interesting, could work from home be the future? Wow, riveting. So if any of you think your first post needs to be perfect, oh my goodness, mine sucks. Some of my posts still absolutely suck. But for me, it made sense as a place to connect as a professional with other professionals. So a very different platform to what it is now, and I use it in a very different capacity, but it found me at the right place in my career. I was freelancing with zero experience and no qualifications to do so with some of the world's biggest brands in 3 months. Made more money than it wasn't much, but more than I ever thought I would in my first year as a freelancer. So underqualified, underexperienced, but I think visibility can do a lot for you. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. It's hard to imagine PLM ever not having beautiful graphics, for the record, but I love that evolution. Awesome. And Jasmine, how about you? How did you first get started?
I think I've been on LinkedIn for about like 4 to 5 years. I actually started my account because when I was graduating, one of my professors was like, you guys need to create a LinkedIn account. This is your homework. Create it and like post an article. But like I knew nothing about it. He was just like, this is an account that you need and this is what you need to do. So I actually moved to Houston with nothing. Like I saved up like $10,000. To me in my college mind, that was like so much money. I saved up that much and I moved to Houston with no job lined up or anything. Like I did not know what I was going to do when I first got here. I like started to like Instacart and like DoorDash and stuff. And then I landed a role at a small Black owned skincare brand, but I really felt like undervalued there and it just like wasn't where I wanted to be. So I just started to do everything but my job on the clock, and posting on LinkedIn was one of those things that I just started to do. And I was never really like the corporate code switching kind of person. Like anything that like I went on, I was just like always myself. So when I started to post on there, I was just like, it was a bunch of like informal posts about like where I was in my career, the hardships that I've been having since like recently graduating, like, like coming out of a pandemic, and just like the opportunities just weren't there. And then I would just like observe what other people were posting, and like I did a lot of like connecting with other people in my industry to like build community and like help me also get opportunities and things like that. But yeah, I think my first post was like something, that article that he did, but I'm not sure what it was about. I think it was like a random article. But yeah, so that's how I started on LinkedIn, was just fed up with my current job and I just started on LinkedIn.
I love that. Shout out to that professor too.
Yeah, no,
Well, all of you kind of touched on this, but LinkedIn has obviously changed a lot. It used to be considered very cringe, if you will, to post on LinkedIn. So how do you feel like the platform has evolved over the last few years, and why do you feel like building a personal brand on LinkedIn now matters maybe more than it ever did? Jasmine, I'll stay with you on this one.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, you guys can hear me. Okay. I hate to think that people still do think it's cringe. Like I get on TikTok
Yeah.
and people are like, the people are on LinkedIn are so out of touch. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? But I'm like, scare money doesn't make any money. So I think that people are starting to realize that there's an actual community on LinkedIn, and you can find your like respective industries or niches where it feels less intimidating and more just like another social media app. But I believe it's important to build a personal brand because I feel like it just humanizes you more. Like it takes from you just being words on a resume into like an actual person with real experiences, perspectives, and personality. And I think that people are buying more into personality. Like that's why we like that brands are starting to lean more into community management, because we need to know who you like. Obviously you want to sell us something, but like we need to know, like, are you relatable? Like, are you just selling us this just to sell us it? So I think like it's just important just to like not only just create a name for yourself, but just to also like be like a credible, trusting source within your industry.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the personality part of it is so key, like across the entire creator industry. It's such a saturated industry, right? Everyone wants to be a content creator, and it's like everyone can make a day in a life blog, but what makes yours different? And it's like that personality element of it. So I could not agree more. Rhianne, I'll go over to you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think people still think it's cringe, but I always like say just embrace the cringe because everything you want is on the other side of cringe. But I'd say the platform has evolved quite a lot in the past few years. I think mainly because like Gen Z have hit that stage where they're starting to focus on their career instead of education, which means they're naturally on LinkedIn more, and they are that generation that's grown up with social media. So naturally, I think as they stepped onto the platform, it shifted a bit. I think I'm seeing more like light-hearted, silly, personality, opinionated kind of content. There's less like corporate, polished, serious gradually. So the vibe has definitely changed a lot, and it's slowly become more creator friendly, slowly but surely.
Yeah, agreed. I feel like I would have never seen like memes or things like 3 or 4 years ago. It was very much like, what? Having a baby taught me about B2B sales. And it's like, what are you talking about? Um, Sophie, I'll go over to you last. I know you touched on this already. I'd love for you to expand on it a little more.
Of course, I think you summed it up really nicely after your answer, Jasmine, and what you said, Cody, that, oh, my phone is transcribing me. Don't do that. Anyone wants to know what I said in the last sentence, I can now send it to you. You said that everyone wants to be a creator, and I think there are some really interesting stats that I don't know off the top of my head, but like even surveys with like Gen Alpha kids who are like up to 14, 16 years of age now, and like the percentage of kids now that want to be a creator, want to be an influencer. I think that's awesome. LinkedIn is where you can be. I read a really cool article a few years back. I think it was from Forbes, and it was titled, or it was about the rise of the normie. So like not the fashion influencer, not the LinkedIn, no, not the fashion creator, not the like vlogs, not the days in the lives, but like normal people posting normal stuff. And I see content around like business creators and expert influencers now. And I think that LinkedIn is cool now, or it's changing, because what it means to be a creator looks different. You can have a full-time job reviewing Apple products, and that can pay your bills. You can have a full-time job talking about marketing from absolutely nothing. So I think that LinkedIn is shifting because everyone wants to be a creator, and now they can. You just need the right audience for it. For me, building my personal brand, it's been on LinkedIn for 5 years. I'm now looking to expand across other platforms. I think LinkedIn gives you the depth, but if you want to take creator seriously, then you need the kind of width and broadness that other platforms can give you as well. But that's, I'm sure, another webinar. Everything I've done thus far in my career has been semi-deserved, but I've rarely been qualified for what I do, and I have never ever been the best at what I do to deserve the opportunities that I get. There's always been someone better, but I have always been the most visible. I do not think it's about who you know anymore, because who you know 1,000 other people know, and they're also in their DMs or their emails. But I think especially if it comes to your career, you're in a job full time, you want something new, you want to freelance. It's all about who knows you. Being visible has changed my life, and it's been the single best career asset for me. So everyone wants to be a creator. I think on LinkedIn they can, but in a personal brand sense, the visibility that gives you to the right people, you're just not going to find on any other platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. It's all about the visibility. It's such a good piece of advice. I think also from the brand side too, I think the opportunities on LinkedIn are bigger than they've ever been before. Brands are starting to really see that as a really valuable platform. This was the first year that Planoly actually invested in, LinkedIn creators versus Instagram creators or TikTok creators. And also we did a big campaign earlier this year, the Touch Grass campaign, and we sent, these PR boxes to a lot of creators. And actually it was the LinkedIn post, the people who posted on LinkedIn about this, that drove so many more impressions, so much more website traffic than just like people who posted on their Instagram stories. And that's not to shade anyone who did that, because that was also amazing. But, I think brands are just really starting to see the power of LinkedIn, and there's more opportunity there than there ever has been before. So I love that you touched on that as well. I do want to talk about content strategy. And Sophie, I know you just touched on this, kind of expanding across, multiple platforms and having more width. That's not a word. But anyways, but I want to talk about your content strategy specifically on LinkedIn, but maybe potentially also as to how it relates to your other platforms. Like, are you cross-posting content across LinkedIn? Are you creating, exclusive content for LinkedIn? Like, what does that look like for you?
Of course, I feel like I may potentially be a unique case here because I don't just sell myself, I sell a brand, Pretty Little Marketer, which I would never consider myself the face. PLM is not the Sophie show, it's a community and resource, but I fall into the PLM universe. So content strategy wise, when it comes to my business profile, I am trying to be better this year, but I just don't have time to create content for both PLM Instagram, PLM LinkedIn. So that's mostly cross-posted, and it works for now. I think if you have the team, the time, and the resource to be more specific on any platform you're on, multi-channel strategies, I think, are one of the most important things to be considering right now. But I'm a team of 3, so that's not on my agenda. When it comes to kind of Sophie as a brand, though, the only place you will see me posting at the moment is on LinkedIn. I kind of chucked out content pillars early across all platforms, all strategies. I just think that they put you in a box that you don't need to be in. I'm at a very different point in my kind of content and personal brand life cycle than someone who is just starting out, which I would assume to you guys watching. So the kind of 3 questions I would start with for you guys, and something that I come back to often as well when strategy feels messy, or I go through periods all the time where I don't know what to post, so I'm not going to, and then I feel guilty and I hate myself, but then it's too long and then it's hard to start again. So the 3 questions I come back to, really easy one on paper, but challenging in theory, is this question of what do you want to be known for? If Planoly were to get in touch with you tomorrow and they were going to invite you to a webinar on a certain topic, you were going to be the sales speaker, what would you want that topic to be? Or, if someone's recommending you in a room, like, oh, I love following Sophie because Sophie talks about ... For me, it would be all things community. It's what I'm good at, it's what I do, it's what I'm most passionate about. So what do you want attached to your name? What do you want to be known for? Question 2 that I think will guide your content more is this thought of who do you want to be known to? And that will fall into 2 buckets. That will be your demographics on paper. So, senior marketers that live in the UK because I'm job seeking in London or I'm looking for UK based clients. But then also like the relatability factor. What are their psychographics? What are they interested in? What are their opinions? So who do you want to be known to? And then when it comes to your content, it's the 3rd question, which is how am I going to be that thing to those people? So you're essentially just walking backwards from your end goal. That's where I would start. My actual content strategy is like 1,000 Notion pages that never go anywhere and drafts that never go anywhere, and me overthinking content to the point where it never gets posted. So do as I say, not what I do. But I think to put a pin in the end of, well, this is who I want to be, means that you're not confining yourself to content pillars necessarily or content goals buckets, but you've got the roadmap. Okay, well, I want to be this person to these people. What are they like? What do I need to post? Who is this person? What are they already posting, or what can I learn from them? So I like to think of it as like a loose strategy rather than something to tie you down.
Yeah, I love that. I love that 3-question framework. I hope your phone was transcribing that and can send it to me. Awesome. Jasmine, I'll go to you next. I'm curious, like Sophie said, she kind of is operating from a bit more of a brand perspective. So as like a solo creator, what does your strategy look like?
It could be better. I'm super inconsistent with LinkedIn. My agency, Socially Hooked, has no social media presence. I get a lot of my clients from my personal brand that I'm inconsistent with, but I feel like I'm able to be inconsistent because like I've built such like a solid community there, and I actually like build relationships with the people there. So like every time I come back, like they're engaging with me like with open arms. But I also, when I do when I am consistent on LinkedIn, a lot of my ideas just come to me when I'm doing random things. And I think that's why I'm so inconsistent, because I can't sit down and just think of like content to push out, because then I feel like it's forced and it's not like me, and I'm just coming up with stuff just to talk on LinkedIn. And that's never like how I want to be. Like if I'm showing up on LinkedIn, I want to be intentional and I want it to, you know, just like relate to me. So like a lot of the times, one week I will have a good week where ideas are coming to me, like when I'm in the shower, in my book club meeting, driving in the car. So like I try to speak that into my notes app and then build on it later. But I'm sure I would be like much further in my career if I was more consistent on LinkedIn. But I think I just have this like idea in my head, just like Sophie said, like, what do you want to be known for? I don't want to be known as like a person who just post like a bunch of crap on LinkedIn and like with no like substance, or like just like a person, you know, that like the people on TikTok are talking about, like what are people over there on LinkedIn talking about, you know, like I want everything to just like have a purpose behind it. And that's something that I'm currently working on this year. Like I do want to build a brand and a name for Socially Hooked itself. Like I'm going through a whole current like rebrand right now. But all in all, yeah, I would say that I'm very inconsistent. These ladies are more consistent than me. But when I do show up, I do. And recently, I'm sure LinkedIn has gone through their multiple different algorithm changes. So like I've been seeing, like Rhianne said, a bunch of like memes and stuff like go really viral on there. Not like necessarily viral, but like reach, you know, a good like amount of people on there. And obviously carousels and like short form videos are performing well. Like I've been obsessed with the day in the lives that social media managers are doing, and just recapping like creator events. Cause I feel like as creators like ourselves, like those are like things that we want to see. And it's like super cool to see. It's like super cool to see that it's attainable and like brands are there on LinkedIn watching you do that stuff. But yeah, all in all, I said that all to say that I'm super inconsistent. But yeah, that's all I have to touch on that point.
No, I love it. I love the authenticity. Ree, I'm curious your take on this, because I feel like every time I log on to LinkedIn, you have a new post live. So you post a lot. So I'd love to know the strategy behind that.
That's so interesting you say that, because I feel like I don't post a lot. But I love Jasmine's point about like being intentional and having purpose. Like I often get people coming to me, you know, and they're wanting to start posting on LinkedIn, but they don't really have a reason why. It's just I just want to post on LinkedIn. I think having that like as like fluffy as it sounds, like strong why you want to post is like super big to staying at it a long time. I think that's the only reason like I'm still going 2 years on. But yeah, I'm only on LinkedIn at the moment. I'm full time, I'm freelancing, so I could not juggle anything else. But I am starting on Instagram shortly. My approach to LinkedIn is centered around like experimentation and consistency. But by consistency, I do not mean posting 5 times a week or every day of the week, no matter what. I can't stand when people say that. I think it's unrealistic for a lot of people. I actually only post like 2, max 3 times a week, and it has been that way the whole time. I'd love to get to a point where I'm posting more, but it's just I know it's not sustainable for me right now. So I always say to people, you know, show up at a frequency you can maintain week on week. It's better to be consistent, you know, 2 posts a week for like months on months than to do 5 posts then stop for a week, 5 posts then stop for a week. So yeah, and it's also being consistent with your tone of voice, your branding, your messaging, and your content quality as well. And then with experimentation, like Jasmine said, the platforms are always changing. Like LinkedIn had a big algorithm change last year. And the trends are always changing. What worked today might not work tomorrow. So I think I always say like the best thing you can do on social media is experiment, you know, test, analyze, try new things, find what works for your account and your audience, or see if something else works better.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jasmine touched on this a little bit, but I'm curious from your perspective as well, what formats, and I'll ask all of you this too, but what formats do you feel like are working really well on LinkedIn right now? Because it used to be just text posts, I feel like, and now we are seeing a lot more of that like short form video content coming over. Obviously, carousels are huge. So what do you feel like is working for you right now?
Yeah, shall I start? I think technically carousels are performing best right now. There's actually been loads of research from like a few brands that's come out lately that have shown like they're by far exceeding. But I would say that doesn't mean everyone should jump on carousels. Like, I'm a huge believer in tapping into your strengths. So if you like suck at design, and you can't outsource it or get help, like, I don't think you should force yourself to do it. Obviously, it makes sense to give it a go and try get better. Like, my first carousel was definitely not amazing, and I look back at it, I'm like, ew. But I know like some people are incredible on video, but video doesn't necessarily perform great on LinkedIn in terms of like reach. But I can think of people off the top of my head who were like amazing at video editing and showing up on camera. So I think it absolutely makes sense for them to tap into that and play at what they're good at.
Yeah.
But yeah, you also want to improve on like your weaker areas. So you're not gonna nail a format from the start. Like, I posted my first video recently. It's crazy because I've been posting for 2 years, but I'm trying to give that format a go. And I definitely think you shouldn't be afraid to try new things ever. And I always actually say to start with like your message or idea first rather than the format. Like, I've never gone, oh, I'm going to do a carousel this week. I take the idea and then pick a format that makes sense. So like a lot of my best posts are text only or text and an image. So for example, I might have a strong opinion and then I'll lean into text or video. If I'm like doing a detailed breakdown where like visuals might help, then I would go for a carousel or a graphic. But yeah, I'd just say to remember that even if everyone is screaming about carousels, or you know, if carousels work for Bob doesn't necessarily mean they work for you and your audience and your account.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such good advice. I feel you on the video thing. I have been in marketing for 10 years, and every time I pick up my camera to film a video, I'm like, my heart is pounding. I'm like, I can't do this. That said, though, Sophie, I'd love to go to you next because you do a lot of video and you do it really well. So I'd love to know your take on this.
I mean, the trick is to outsource to someone better than you. So if you look at my videos and think, wow, Sophie's good at this, it's me fumbling, talking to my camera for 5 minutes. And my video editor is called Mia. She runs Floofy, Flollfy socials on Instagram. She is amazing. She has a whole team now. So if you have the resource and when you're ready, I've just hired a graphic designer as well to help with our carousels. So I think, like Rhi was saying, it's a case of starting, mastering one thing, figuring out your feet, experimenting, as you were saying, and then, cool, I want to do video. Is it something I can do alone? Can I invest? Whatnot? But for me, each format has a goal. If I want a reach piece, I should also briefly explain, I work and my business strategy across Sophie and my business Pretty Little Marketer, I work on a quarterly basis in terms of every month has a goal. If I use the start of the year as an example, in March, I announced our conference. So March for me was a big like nurturing sales month. That meant that February and January had to be really big reach months. My goal in January and February across all of our socials was to get as many new followers and new eyeballs as possible. So at the start of March, I could start posting my nurture content, and then the end of March, I could sell to them. That also looks like getting them to follow, advocate in a comment section, join my email list. That's my call to action for a lot of our content because that's where we nurture and sell the most. So my content formats, my content plan goes back to this bigger and wider plan. So it's worth thinking about, especially if like for Jasmine, for example, if your personal brand is your lead generator, if you know that you have a lot of contracts ending in March, well, March needs to be a big reach month. There needs to be a push to get in front of the most right people as possible. So I work on a reach, not just sales, across everything I do. Again, that's giving each month a goal or each quarter a goal based on what my business is doing. But that also means each post only has one goal as well. I think you will be lucky to have a perfect formula that means every video goes viral, gets loads of comments, loads of clicks, loads of saves, loads of conversions. Nothing can do everything. So for me, personal brand wise, I will have my reach post. So that'll be like a meme or a cheeky one-liner. If you ever want, I don't want to reduce it to easy, but like a tried and true and a solid one. If you can ever tie something back to like a trending event, I did a post on Instagram that very easily could have translated to me, Sophie, on LinkedIn. That was all about the concept of world building as like a marketing strategy. And I used Kim Kardashian's Kimmas as an example of a live show and how it did that. That like blew up on Instagram. Kim Kardashian herself or her social media manager at least liked the post. So if you can ever tie like a thought back to a big topic, like a person or, you know, what's trending right now, I think that's a really tried and true reach piece for me. Nurture for me. So reach is where you'll get your kind of likes, your impressions. Nurture, my goal here is comments and shares, a different kind of content strand. This is where I will share a why or a how to everything I do. How I was able to share my thoughts on LinkedIn with Planoly after 5 years of posting, why I'm excited about this webinar, blah, blah, blah. And then you've got sales. This is where engagement will absolutely suck. I hyped up my conference announcement for weeks and all of the hype got like shares, saves, comments. The actual post, however, no one's in that comment section, guys. No one's liking it, but they're clicking. So we're all good. So I think knowing which each strand where it falls. Video for me, that's not going to be reach, that's going to be nurture because you see me, you get to know me, you understand my attitudes and my thoughts. So reach, nurture, sales, not only do I do that by month or quarter, every format and every post falls into one of those 3 buckets as well. And I think it's the only way you're not going to be disappointed when your sales post doesn't boom because it's not a reach piece. And expectations, I think that's been really important for if any of you are perfectionists and you want every post to perform really well. Yeah, I feel you. I think having buckets or a plan like that will hopefully be really helpful.
Yeah, I love that. That's such good advice. I also really, really like the piece about tying a topic back to a trending moment. I think you guys are so good at that. Every time there is like some sort of pop culture trend or marketing trend or brand trend or something, I'll log onto Instagram and Pretty Little Marketer has like the perfect take on it. And I'm like, damn, why didn't I think of that? That's so good. So if you need an example of that, go look at their feed. Jasmine, I know you touched on this a little bit earlier. I want to give you a chance if you have anything else you want to add.
Yeah, not really, but I do want to piggyback off of, well, I guess I am adding something. What Ree said about the attaching a image or something to like a longer form text or even like short form text. I have been actually paying attention a lot to, especially since I'm inconsistent, I've been paying attention to a lot that when I am posting, what is my audience engaging with? And it's like no longer long form. And it's actually funny because another creator on LinkedIn, I saw them say a while ago, like get rid of the long form, like just create a newsletter, which is like true. Like a lot of people are starting to create newsletters, but like when I'm posting about a topic, it's like I can't like shut up. Like I can't just like condense all of my thoughts into like a few like words. So that's like has been like really challenging for me. But like when I do want to like, you know, be a little wordy with it, attaching an image like does help for some reason. So I would say definitely like if you do want to still do like long form and you don't have a newsletter, because I know everybody can't keep up with a newsletter. I haven't posted on my newsletter since last year around this time. So it's very hard to like put on your plate. But if you still just want to have those like lengthy thoughts, I would say definitely like, you know, test like putting an image to it, like whether it's an image like of like I've been seeing like a lot of people just post like pictures of themselves or like even just like the topic that you're talking about. I think is like really good. It has been like working for me.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great piece of advice. I know everyone is like starting a Substack, which I love Substack, but now I'm like every morning I have a novel to read because I have like my 100 Substack subscriptions and everyone published, and I'm like, okay, gotta sit down and read my book today. So I still like long form on LinkedIn. Okay. Jasmine, I'll actually stay with you for this one. I think you've touched on this and you have a very like strong, incredible personality, like even through Zoom right now. LinkedIn sits in this very interesting space where it's between personal and professional, right? It's a professional platform, but you want to have your personal brand. So how do you balance that and balance like showing off your personality while still, or maybe you don't, maybe you just focus solely on personality, but how do you balance that and like try to keep things relevant to your career or relevant to your audience?
I think that I'm honestly still figuring that out in real time because sometimes I feel like I get way too personal on LinkedIn. So I'm trying to find the balance. Like I've learned that I can show my personality, but it still needs to like in some way tie back into my work and how I think professionally. Like I share things in a way that like reflects how like I naturally talk and think. Thankfully, I work in social media though, so it's like literally all fun and games. But I still try to like anchor it to my experience. Like I actually had I'm a huge Heated Rivalry fan and I love the marketing that they've been doing. They did like a collab with Google where if you type in Heated Rivalry, it's like Lily and Jane texting. And I shared that on my LinkedIn because no one was really talking about Heated Rivalry marketing on LinkedIn. And it's probably because I don't know, like they felt like they couldn't bring it there. But I posted I didn't realize in my screen recording there was like a skit in Scott and Kip were like in the dark, and somebody commented was like, "Is this what we're doing on LinkedIn now?" And I'm like, I was so confused because they weren't doing anything, so I had to delete the post and like re-upload it with it cropped out because I'm like, these are like my interests, like, and this is marketing, like I want to talk about it. So I've been like realizing that even though like I'm in social media, everybody on LinkedIn is not in social media. They're in different industries, and you can't like control like what your content like lands on and stuff like that. So I've been just trying to find like a balance of like my personal interest and like my personality, like when it comes to like speaking about things in this industry on the page. But yeah, that was like a huge lesson learned. But yeah,
That's hilarious. I think my heart would stop if I got that comment. I'd be like, wait, what did I miss? Rhi, I'll toss it to you next.
It's such an interesting one because I do think it's something you just like have to figure out yourself. And obviously it depends on your industry. Like some are more serious, you got to be sensitive to what you're saying. But I think I love this question because like it's confusing because people think LinkedIn, they think professional platform, but then you think personal branding and it has the word personal in. So the two feel like they're pulling in opposite directions, even though they're kind of not. So I always like to think of it like you don't show up to work with no personality. So why would you show up to LinkedIn with no personality? Like it just makes no sense to me. I think sometimes we think professional means like formal, no personality, nothing personal. But like especially with AI now, like your personality is one of your huge differentiators and what makes you like memorable and stand out. Um, so I'm always telling people, clients, myself, like, gotta make sure my tone is in the post and it's words I would say, and like to sprinkle in humor and like even if you don't want like loads of personality, you can still have little one-liners. Like that's such a good way to like sprinkle a bit of you into it. And you do have to remember it's like it is social media. It's not like some corporate press release or something.
Yeah.
And also like personal doesn't mean oversharing. So you have to like know your boundaries. For example, for me, I would never talk about relationships or my family, but I have a client who it makes perfect sense to talk about that and it is relevant for him. So it is such a like a case by case thing. And then when it comes to like, is it relevant for your career and audience? I always like try to think, would I be embarrassed if this came up in a job interview? Like if they brought up my post and asked me about it, would I be embarrassed or uncomfortable? And then also like if someone approached you in real life and asked you about that post, would you feel weird? Would you feel bad? Or are you like completely comfortable sharing and talking about that? It's also like comes back to your values as well. Like I'm a huge mental health advocate, so I love sharing my experience with mental health and my struggles, and that to me is not too personal, whereas other things are too personal. So it is definitely one you have to find out for yourself, and you have to think about like, why are you sharing this? Are you providing value for your audience? So yeah, you've just got to keep in mind that not everything has to be content, and there is a difference between private and personal.
Yeah, that's that question, like, would I be embarrassed if this came up in a job interview? I feel like that is a great way to gauge this. I love that so much. Sophie, I want your take on this because it may be a little bit different from the other gals since you're coming from sort of a brand perspective.
I treat Sophie as a brand the exact same way that I do Pretty Little Marketer, the same that I did when I ran socials for like the world's biggest brands. And I think, and I get a lot of pushback on this, or at least I used to when I talked about it more frequently, when I talked about like being strategically personal. And I think we often confuse strategic. I think there's like a Taylor Swift quote where she talks about like strategic for a man is like calculated for a woman, and that's like what this is giving me right now. But I don't think strategic has to be like cold, calculated, manipulative. Like I strategically don't post out of my windows. I strategically won't share, like Ree said, like my relationship details, or you know what I want you to know of who I am. And in my head, and I've talked about this before, like in my head, there's Sophie and there's also marketing Sophie. And they're not different. Like marketing Sophie isn't this persona that I've created to fool anyone, but it's a part of me and who I am. So I think that there is scope for you to be strategically personal. And I think, as Ree said, there's a really big difference between like being personal but showing personality. Like I can show my personality when I'm getting passionate and talking about building our community, or something that's really arced me when it comes to Super Bowl marketing, where you get to know me and my values and my attitude and how I sound and speak. But you don't know, the snacks I was eating when I was watching it with my boyfriend, or what I did on the weekend with my mum or my family. So I think that there is a like, and I think there should be a clear line. I also think that like reputation wise, what do you want to be known for? And as we were saying, like what's the long-term plan? I know that in 5-10 years, I have ambitious goals to be known as an authority in marketing. I know that the publications I want to be featured in, I know the stages that I want to speak on, and selfies on LinkedIn won't get me there. If I was on stage in building my personal brand presence, and maybe my goal was to establish myself as a freelancer or a team player, or I was looking for a new job, maybe personal stories about my career could be really beneficial. But to where I am, that wouldn't work for me. So I think it depends on where you are and what your goal is. And like these guys were saying, it's not to villainize having fun, sharing memes, posting a meme, sharing what you're up to. But for me and my goals, that doesn't align. So my best take on this would be to think like a brand. And I don't think that has to be a bad thing. Many of you guys, I'm sure, watching are marketers. So the same way that you apply humanization to a brand, how can you apply that to you? For me, that's having a clear difference between Sophie and marketing Sophie. If you want to post a selfie, girls, always go ahead, be my guest. Look like a diva. I do not care at all. But as Ree was saying, I love that thought of like, would you be embarrassed if it was brought up in a job interview? I think that's a really good sense check. So yeah. I think there's a line, but you can still have fun. I have fun.
Yeah. I love that. There were so many good tidbits in that. Sophie, I want to stay with you for this next one because this is kind of your whole bread and butter, right? There is a big difference on LinkedIn between having a network and building a community. So how do you go about actually building community versus just adding connections to your network?
Good question. So I teach community strategy. Again, strategy is not a bad word. Strategy is just a plan. It means that you have an end goal and you can get there. There's this quote that I love that I always misquote, and this is credit to whoever came from, but it's a dream without a plan is just a wish. I think I've said that wrong, but we're going to pretend that's it. Google it and you can find it for yourself, but a dream without a plan is just a wish. So when it comes to strategy, it's absolutely not something that happens by accident, and I think I could talk forever, but I won't. There's a lot to be said about the difference between relationship and community. You can have relationship with people on LinkedIn. That doesn't mean that you have a community. There are identifiers of a community. A community needs something to band together around. You need to have a shared interest. So like Ree said, he advocates for mental health. It could be really easy for you to then take that and build a community around it. So having something that you talk about often, what do you want to be known for? Building community around loving community might be what I do. So what's your kind of top level? What is it that you're connecting over? And then I believe that real community has two strands or two tick boxes. Number one is connection to you. And a lot of people do that really well. And that is building a relationship. That is letting people see your values. That is you advocating for mental health. That is me talking about health struggles as a CEO or a founder, or sharing your journey, getting made redundant and now running a freelance agency. Connection to you is really easy, and it's likely a lot of you guys do that already. But I think that people really lack when it comes to community is community exists without you. If your audience relies on you to show up, that's relationship, that's not community. You need connection to each other. So how are you facilitating conversation, whether that's encouraging people in a comment section, reposting, running a challenge to get people to share their own thoughts, something to band together over. Connection to you, easy one, but connection to each other where you're facilitating, I think, is something few people do well because it's really hard. But community doesn't exist without it. So considering how you're serving people rather than them serving you is the shortest and easiest answer I could give you.
No, it's a great answer. Rhi, I'll go to you next. I'd love your take on this.
I feel like Sophie is like the perfect person for
Yeah.
that question. Her answer like summarize it perfectly. I really like the point around like the best sign you have built a strong community is when people start connecting and talking to each other without you, which is definitely no easy thing, but I think that's the core of it. For me, I always scream and shout about interaction when it comes to LinkedIn. Like a lot of people approach it like in broadcasting mode, like we did this, we did that, or they posting ghost, or they just never engage, and then they're talking at people and not with them. I think that's almost like the opposite of community, like the opposite end of the spectrum. So like ask yourself, like, are you replying to comments? Are you listening to what people say, what your audience is saying? Are you engaging with other people's content? Are you building genuine relationships? Are you making people feel seen? Are you starting conversations out in the DMs or outside of that social space as well? But I think Sophie answered it perfectly.
Yeah, I love that. Jasmine, do you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, Sophie literally ate that response up. Not gonna lie. But I would say for me personally, I just like make it my mission to like interact with and support other peers in my industry. Like this might sound silly, but like I genuinely don't feel like I have like any competition in this space. Like I love collaborating with and genuinely supporting other marketers, other social media managers and things like that. So I just like make it my mission to like have not even just like have community, but just like have those intimate relationships with other people, because it has actually like, poured into my career also. Like it's this creator on there, and she was given an opportunity, but it wasn't a fit for her. So we've only had like a few exchanges, but she literally had thought of me and like passed on that work to me. And then I was able to, add some like cool clients to my roster. So I think that, yeah, it's just like being like very intentional, especially when you're like building community on there with how you're building it and like how you're showing up in those spaces for those people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the engagement piece of it is so important and something that you all are so, so great at. But I have so many, including all of you, people on LinkedIn that I've never actually met these people in real life, but I feel like we are close friends. And I'm like, they comment on my post, I comment on their post. And it's like, it's actually kind of crazy. Like, I'm like, wait, I actually have not met you, but I feel like I know you very well. So yeah, I think that the community aspect on LinkedIn is what you make it. Whether you're pouring into that and investing into that, it'll pour back into you. Okay, last question. I want to close with something that has been everywhere. People are probably sick of hearing it, but I want your guys' take on it. Obviously, AI is taking over everything, right? And our feeds have been flooded with AI, whether it's AI generated content, whether it's AI bots in the comment section. So I'd love to know, in a feed that is increasingly full of AI generated content, how would you recommend that creators stand out on LinkedIn? And I'll start with you, Jasmine.
I actually think Sophie touched on this earlier in one of our questions, but having things that are uniquely you is key. Like we recognize Sophie, for example, from PLM, like she has specific branding and look that just can't be replicated. And then we all know Jade Powell, who's known like for having purple hair. And now she's like created this whole signature style where she used like fancy lip gloss as her mic in her videos. And I'm like, you just have to find those things that make you you and make sure that's poured into your content, because it gives people a sense of like freshness and authenticity that like AI just can't replicate. And I really think that's like how you can like continue to stand out. It's just like finding that thing that like you can lean on and like people know, like if I hear this thing, I know this is Jasmine. If I hear this thing, see this thing, I know it's Sophie, like so on and so forth. So yeah.
Yeah, love that. Jade is such a great example of that. Jade Powell is who she referenced if you want to go look her up. Rhi, I'll go to you next.
You reminded me of the AI comments. I hate the AI comments. But thankfully, they are meant to be cracking down on that, so maybe it'll get better. But I would say, like, to add to these 2 points, it's the things that are like uniquely you. So it's your story, your personality, your lived experience, your opinions. Like, if AI can pull from anything on the internet, the only thing it thankfully can't pull from is your brain. So that's like tapping into the things that you've experienced that are unique to you, weaving in context that adds like where your knowledge is from, like have you experienced something that has taught you this, not just how, like I always say, you can easily spit out how to post with AI now, but how I is different. Like anyone can write how to get a job in social media, but only you could be like, I landed a job in social media after 2 months after dropping out of uni. Here's how I did it. Like the 2 very different things, and it's just way more interesting to read. It's 10 times more valuable than something generic, and it's unique to you, so it's more likely to stand out. But yeah, I'm not against using AI as well. Like I just think you need to keep in mind, like it is getting clogged up with the low quality AI stuff. And also like when brands are leaning into it, they are getting pushback. Like I think I did a post on it earlier this year, and like there is examples like Polaroid going the opposite way. And like I think it's like the sand between your toes, like AI can't replicate and do stuff like that. So you have to be mindful of your reputation as well. Like I saw a huge business influencer post on LinkedIn like a few weeks ago, and the post was like complete AI, and people like ripped it to shreds. Like people were posting about how he was using AI, even though he has like millions of dollars. And like your personal brand at the end of the day is your reputation, so you have to be mindful of how using it could damage it. But yeah, it's like replacing human work and faces and voices and ideas of where it starts to like slip.
Yeah, I've seen so many big brands kind of like publicly announcing their stance on AI recently, which has been really interesting. Sophie, I'd love to hear your take on this.
Of course, and I agree with obviously I agree these ladies are geniuses and amazing, but I agree with everything that's been said so far. And I love AI. Does it write my content? No. But does it help me brainstorm an angle? Absolutely. Does it speed up I use like Zapier and Bitly, and they have amazing AI features. So I think it's getting really specific on what AI is as well. AI can do so much more than just write you a crap piece of content. It can analyze your data, help you pick out, what posts worked really well, find content themes. For me, it's like, I hate the term, but like a thinking partner. I am a Claude baddie, Claude Giao through and through. Love him. But back to what Jasmine was saying, like one having a thing, same as what we said. For me, it's like being a staple. And I've talked before, and I'm really, it comes from a place of privilege that I have 6 years under my belt, but like just being consistently good. If you can be consistently good, we sold 100 conference tickets over the past 3 weeks with half a lineup, 3 posts that didn't really give much away. Could I have done that 5 years ago? No. But for 6 years, I've built an expectation that when PLM gives you something, it's going to be good. So I'm like anal about this. I hold myself to the highest standard possible, but I think it's the only reason why my business and I am where I am today. So holding yourself to a high standard and always meeting it, as the girls said, like having a thing. And I think the last thing I would say is like being a staple. I have a friend called Rachel who runs an amazing marketing publication called Because of Marketing. She's on Substack, she's on Instagram, LinkedIn, Because of Marketing, if you don't already follow her. Could I get Claude co-work or Claude Code or any, trawl the internet and give me the top 10 most popular marketing activations of the week? Do I know how? No, but like you could, right? In theory. Would I rather hear those 10 from Rachel, whose opinion I trust, whose publication I've read for like 5 years now? Absolutely. So being a staple, exactly as these girls said, building a reputation, having a thing. But yeah, I don't think we should be scared of AI. AI can do amazing things for your workflow. It's just deciding what you want to give away and what you value. I value writing myself, my typos. I don't know where a comma should go versus a dash. I value being able to add like witty comments in there. So I don't think AI is a bad thing, maybe unpopular opinion, but yeah, figure out where it sits for you and where it can add rather than take away, as we were saying, I think is really important. So if anything, it just makes the opportunity greater. If everything else is crap and I can now be 10% good rather than 100, great. Good
Yeah.
news.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, me and my Claude Pro subscription are like this, so I feel you on that. No, I love that. I think that's for such good answers on that. And I think, yeah, there's such an opportunity with AI, right? But there's also an opportunity on the flip side of that to stand out as a real person by doing, real people things. And I totally agree because of marketing. If anyone hasn't read that, I know I said I have 1,000 Substack subscriptions earlier, but that is a great one. Also, The Case by Pretty Little Marketer. Great ones. Okay. I know we are running up. We're out of time here, but I'm going to wrap up with one audience question, and it's kind of an amalgamation. We got several questions throughout this session, but they all kind of have one similar through line. So I am going to kind of wrap them up together. And then we will answer the rest of these questions, like I said, on the Planoly Instagram throughout the day. But a lot of these questions have to do with basically like, where do I start, right? People are asking like, do I start posting about personal milestones? Should I post educational content and how-tos? Should I be posting about my job? Like, how do I share about my 9-to-5 job? Like, basically, where do I begin? So what piece of advice would you give someone who is just starting out and like just has no idea what to post? I'll start with you, Rhi.
I actually wouldn't start by posting. I think you automatically think posting is the thing on LinkedIn, but I always say start by commenting. So if you're quite new to the platform, or maybe you've used it but you've never been super active on it, then I would definitely start by commenting more. Like if you're introverted and scared to post as well, it'll massively help take the scaries away. So find creators you love, find posts you like, save them, comment more on accounts you like create a space on LinkedIn where it is accounts you like. You're seeing content that's inspiring you, will inspire ideas for you. It's really hard to share like specific content ideas for people because it kind of depends on your goals, like where you're at in your marketing career, and stuff like that. But I think I'd finished my apprenticeship like a month before I started posting. So I definitely felt like, oh, I'm not the expert. There's people who know more stuff than you. But I will always say, like, talk to the person like 1 or 2 steps behind you and like, or what you wish you knew sooner. And that will always be helpful. But yeah, I'd focus on sharing what you know, your story, and just easing into it. You don't have to like jump in and go full throttle with like 3 posts a week forever.
Yeah, absolutely. Jasmine, I'll go to you next.
Yeah, I agree with Rhi. When I first started posting, I made it my mission to connect and like send a little personalized message to everybody I was connected to. Like I see that we're in the same industry, have the same interests, et cetera, et cetera, to like also just like extend that like branch and just like leave it open for them to respond back. And I actually got like a lot of good positivity out of that, but that was like 5 years ago. So I'm not sure if people are like annoyed with like DMs now. But yeah, I would say to do that. And then when you are ready to post, I would just say, like Sophie said, that she couldn't find her first post, but it was like literally just quoting something, like reposting it with your thoughts. I would say like if you are gonna like start posting, you don't know whether you just want to start like posting about personal things, I would just like just find something and just repost it with your thoughts. Like add your take, add your perspective to really just like, find what you will be good at posting on LinkedIn.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sophie, how about you?
I agree. Again, of course. I have used this analogy in the past, especially when I would work with brands that were starting new accounts from nothing. I worked on a lot of like product and brand launches when I freelance. And like walking out onto a stage and speaking to an empty auditorium would be my nightmare. Like you've got good stuff to say and there's no one there to receive it. That would suck. So exactly as Ree was saying, like if you can fill those seats first, if you can become a friendly face, a familiar face, when you do post, you're going to have, in the least transactional way, you're going to have people in your corner who are, oh, well, I loved your take in that comment section, so that you've earned my like, my follow, my respect. And I think, yeah, everything Jasmine was saying, connecting with people, and I think being a local first, just, being around, is a really smart strategy. If you need content ideas, if you're finding it challenging, there are two things that I do. Despite having 750,000 followers on the internet, I am terrified of sharing my opinion. And if you read any of my posts, especially our PLM content, you'll find it's almost always from an observational angle. I've noticed this. Here's a brand doing it. Here's an example. What do you guys think? And if you want to fight it out in the comments, that's cool. But I am Switzerland. I am neutral over here. 6 years in, I don't feel like an expert. And I imagine for you guys getting started to like put your stamp of this is the truth is really hard and scary, especially on a platform like LinkedIn, where I know we've shared the love today, but there are some real a-holes on there who just want to comment for the sake of commenting, and it's good for them, but it can be a real confidence hit for you. The amount of times I've like deleted posts for a week because someone's been rude or mean in my comment section is unbelievable. So yeah, I think being a local, two, if you want to start sharing, share it from an observational angle. I loved this from this person because what do you guys think? And then any experiences you want to share. Say you got a promotion, you loved this webinar that you attended, you noticed something, you've been somewhere, either share the why or the how. Why I'm investing in attending webinars this year, how I got my promotion, whatever it is. How or a why is where I would start. But just post, man. All of these ladies here, and I can say for instance, it genuinely changed my life. I am underqualified for almost everything that I do. I speak on stages alongside people that I've looked up to my entire career, and it's not because I'm better than anyone else. It's just because, as I said, just because I'm visible. So I think I fear not being seen, because everything you want is at the hands of other people who they need to know who you are. So I know it's scary, but future you'll be on this webinar next year, boys and girls. We'll be great. So yeah, that's where
I love that so much. All of that was such good advice. And to be honest, as someone who just started posting on LinkedIn earlier this year, I cannot recommend enough what they said about just go connect with other people in your industry, because it's such a great way to get inspiration for the type of content that you might want to post. So like if you work in beauty marketing and you want to start posting about your job, go follow other beauty marketers and see the types of content that they're posting. It's just the best way to say like, oh wait, this is cool, I could do something like that. And like they said, build a community. Like there are just so many, Maya Shell, Anara Roy, Jade Powell, all of the amazing people in this panel. Like there's so many really, really cool people doing really cool shit out there, pardon my language. So I just can't recommend it enough. If you don't know where to start, just go connect with people and engage with their content, and it's going to get those ideas flowing. So all right, well, that is all the time we have and more today. So thank you if you're still here. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you to our incredible, incredible speakers for sticking around. This has been such an incredible conversation. And thank you if you attended any of the other sessions in Planoly Business School. If you missed the previous sessions and want to check them out, they are live on the Planoly YouTube channel. So you can go see all of the topics. There's a strategy session, there's an intro to content creation, there's a visual design workshop. Anything and everything that you can think of is over there. So check that out on YouTube. Otherwise, check all of these incredible women out on LinkedIn, and go ahead and give Planoly a follow on Instagram. Like I said, we'll be finishing up the Q&A over there. But otherwise, I hope all of you have an incredible rest of your day, and we will see you next time.